Pitter patter, let's get at her. We are alive, ladies and gentlemen. We are back. We took a little bit of some time off, but we made it back. Of course, right here on the MHRT network. We had the 5280 podcast obviously yesterday, so we're back in full swing. But as Brandon and I kind of been talking about, it is that doldrum of the off season where you've kind of hit some roadblocks in a way of like trying to come up with ideas, but we'll try and do our best and talk about something that is a good topic here and there. But I hope you, as listeners of the Manely Broncos podcast and everything, I hope you guys are doing really well. First things first, make sure you click that subscribe button over there on the MHRT network, over there on YouTube, and make sure you follow both Brandon and I on X, Twitter, whatever you want to call it, at Cameron Parker PO, at Brandon Miller PO. And if you are a first-time watcher or listener, if you will, of the Manely Broncos podcast, I want to say thank you guys so much for hopping in. And,
welcome.
We are happy to have you. What's up, Bobby? I want to give a huge shout-out and a huge thank you again for hopping on the list last week.
2 weeks ago. We didn't record last week.
It's okay. It starts running together. But anyway, 2 weeks ago.
I'll be the GOAT.
That's right. Thanks for hopping on, Bobby. 2 weeks ago, it was an absolute blast. We'll definitely try and do it again.
Super fun.
But Brandon, before we get started on our certain topic, two things. How are you? And also, congratulations on your 1 year anniversary.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Being drafted into the NBA.
Yeah, it's great. I got all my collection of my own rookie cards that I purchased myself because I'm just that excited about it. They're all just in a shadow box hanging on my wall now. So yeah, it's been wild to experience being in the NBA, and I can't believe the Celtics won another one. I'll have to prevent that next year.
Yeah. Can we just give a nice little, applause for Brandon and how he's able to really, manipulate his schedules the way that he's been able to work truly a full-time job, 2 full-time jobs, if you will, of the NBA. And then, the full-time gig of, here in Colorado. It's really impressive.
I don't even know how I do it.
So it is super, super impressive.
I think I just have like some kind of multiple personality disorder where it's like,
what's the thing with Marvel?
I just wake up and then what's that?
What's the thing with Marvel variants? Yeah,
my variant. He's my variant. Yeah. I have multiple variants.
A lot certainly has been going on somewhat with the Denver Broncos. We touched on a little bit on the 5280 podcast yesterday. But before we dive into our main course of the podcast here tonight, I want to first get your thoughts and my thoughts, of course, about the hiring of David Shaw. It was something that I've been actually wanting for a year, right? It's been something that I've been kind of wanting for a year in terms of just him on the actual coaching staff. Yeah. I'm definitely, one where I am super excited about the move. I'm ecstatic. I like the fact that he's been able to join the front office, something that I never really had on my radar screen. But I don't know about you, Brandon, but I'm super stoked about it.
Yeah. Well, before I forget, because we'll get into it, happy birthday, Shannon Sharp. Anyway. Yeah, David Shaw was definitely not Kansas opponent 24 hours straight. Yep. Something that I expected to see happen. I mean, I know he had ties to the organization. Obviously, they brought him in for a head coaching interview 3 years ago. I don't even know, a while back. I don't know
was it the Sean Payton and and Harbaugh cycle? It might have been.
I don't remember. It could have been. I don't remember how well that was reported going, how close he came. I don't know if there was reporting on that, but definitely interesting to see him come back to the organization in the sense that again, he interviewed to be our potential head coach. But I didn't see that happening at all. I mean, I know you did, but I definitely didn't see that happening in the capacity in which it did. I mean, it makes sense. Like, I don't know. The more I thought about it, the more I'm like, well, I don't really know what else you have him do except maybe like an offensive assistant. Like, I don't know what like quality. He's not a quality control guy. That's too.
Right.
It's like not that's like a waste of a role on him. I don't know what else they'd have him do, but it sounds like he's going to specifically be like helping out with scouting and
front office almost.
Just like basically as a member of the front office. I think his exact has like senior personnel executive or something. But definitely will be interesting. I mean, we kind of have a low-key star-studded cast coming on here with David Shaw and obviously Jim Leonard. We got a lot of pretty prominent college football names coming into the Broncos, and then we also already had some prominent college football names coming to Boulder, which was interesting. There's more drama around that one, but yeah, it's definitely pretty interesting. I love the move. I mean, like, I don't think there's no risk to me. It's like a low risk, no risk, high reward. Which obviously knows what to like. He understands college players. He knows what to really look for. And I don't think you can have too many smart minds in the front office. Now all I need to see be announced is Peyton Manning joining the front office, because why hasn't that happened yet?
Plus, you guys actually do share the same birthday. So, I mean,
yeah. I hope that's my birthday present next year, which will never happen because I will not turn 30. I refuse to. So I'm never having a birthday again.
I just think for me, like, when you look at David Shaw, for anybody that was kind of like looking at it in the sense of like, who is he? Like, what exactly has he been in terms of like a player developer? It's like the whole point of when you are a recruit or recruiting, that's your entire, mindset is about player development. When you see a recruit, it's about how you see said player fitting in your organization or your team for the next 4 years, or even year one, the impact that they're going to possibly have year one. And then you end up having how they're going to end up being developed, right? More and more throughout your, time. So I think it's interesting that I just never even had front office even on the mind with David Shaw originally. But when they have him as a player executive, right, which is going to end up probably being a scouting role, it really feels like the Broncos in some capacity really felt like a front office role really suited him. And actually, Brandon, do you remember a conversation that we had with James Palmer during the point in time with when it was actually during that head coaching cycle with Peyton and Harbaugh, and we actually talked about how David Shaw possibly had possibly about him being a part of the staff, whether it was with Sean or whether it was with Jim Harbaugh. Palmer mentioned about how he was so well respected, in terms of the NFL circles, that everybody that you would have talked to in the NFL just absolutely respects his opinion. Mm-hmm. So it seemed like it was only a matter of time before he would be reintroduced, if you will, to the NFL. And I think people forget a little bit about how, I think people were associating so much of the chemistry that he and Jim Harbaugh had, which, by the way, I will say this. I will say this. That might be the underlying biggest win of this.
Get some division intel.
Is that the Broncos were able to hire David Shaw away from possibly the Chargers even doing the same thing within their front office, because we know that David Shaw was the successor of Harbaugh at Stanford. But
the one thing, just funny thing that I've found in the course of like David Shaw's career, the last time the Raiders won the AFC West was when David Shaw was on their staff, and then they never did it again.
we like a good Raiders factoid like that. We like a good Raiders factoid. But what I was going to say is, in terms of connecting the dots, David Shaw was on Peyton's staff, or he was on a staff with Peyton. I want to say it was with the Giants, I think, or was it with the Eagles? There was at some point where they were connected at one point, because right around the point in time, I think it was in the early 2000s or mid 2000s, Sean was really lauding for Sean to get a head coaching gig, like when he was with the Saints, and obviously he ended up not getting it. But yeah, I mean, like they
were both on the Eagles in '97.
That's right. So they definitely had some connections too, and I think that kind of went under the rug because so many people were, talking so much about Harbaugh, which obviously, rightfully so. But I'm excited about it. And Stanford has been churning out so many, prospects, really solid prospects in the NFL. Andrus Peat, funny enough, played with Sean Payton down there in New Orleans. We certainly all know about Christian McCaffrey, who got paid this offseason and also will be married here. I think, was it this weekend, or he got married this weekend? Shout out to C-Mac. And of course, Andrew Luck, right?
I was about to say David should convince Andrew Luck to unretire and come to Denver.
I mean, in some capacity, Empower is a retirement.
It's a retirement. Yeah,
it's a retirement company. Funny. So I mean, I wouldn't necessarily scoff at the idea of possibly Andrew Luck, coming in, and being a Denver Bronco, because we also know that every Colt grows up to be a Bronco.
Exactly.
As evidenced by Peyton Manning. All right. So let's move forward to the main course of the show here. How exactly do the Denver Broncos stack up with the other members of the AFC West? We might regurgitate some of the same conversations, some of the same topics that we've had before on the podcast, but it is in correlation to where they match up with teams like the Kansas City Chiefs, the Los Angeles Chargers, or to one person that I know still wants to call them the San Diego Chargers, which, kudos to him. But
I feel like I've still accidentally called them that.
Yeah. It's not you, though. I wasn't actually.
Oh, I know, but I just feel like I have actually called them that, and without even realizing it.
Yeah. But obviously the Chargers, and then of course the Raiders, who admittedly made the right decision to hire Antonio Pierce. Whether it works out long term for them, that will remain to be seen. But
did you see that his wife declared bankruptcy?
Yeah, that was crazy. That was absolutely crazy.
Does that include him? I don't know. I literally can't tell. I don't know. It's
weird. First thing, what are your initial thoughts in terms of how they stack up?
I think I'm going to be honest. We don't until we see anything from Bo Nix, because I mean, obviously Chiefs are going to stay pretty much at the top until proven otherwise. The only team right now that's like even remotely somewhat close is the Chargers, that's still the Chargers as a team and an organization, and you never know what they're going to do, and they're always going to find a way to charger. So if they're the number 2, I mean, yeah, the Raiders, I think, are the only, the Raiders are very much easy to topple, but I mean, Gardner Minshew, who I personally expect to be their starter. I mean, I don't know. I mean, Aiden O'Connell, I guess, could win it. He's not been terrible for them, but I expect Gardner Minshew to likely be the starter. We've seen him have some success, and obviously he's played in the NFL more, which is more than
smash that like button and share, guys.
Absolutely. Than Bo Nix has. So I'm either going to say that we just straight up don't, or I'm honestly going to, and at current time, put us 4th, because I just don't know. I have no clue. It's all on Bo Nix to me to come in and prove that he can be the guy. That said, I think could be pretty easy for us to overtake the Raiders. And the Chargers, again, could Charger. So it's not like we're climbing a mountain until we get to the Chiefs. But I'm just going to currently go in and say, I
Just
do
because of
not
status quo.
think. Go ahead.
Just because of status quo, we just don't know.
Yeah, I just feel like we haven't seen anything, and I feel like I need to automatically start us at the bottom, just because comparatively, like, yes, he's had a lot of experience, but he's still a rookie in terms of Bo Nix, and rookies come in and they go off and have really good rookie seasons. I mean, Justin Herbert in this division had maybe the best rookie season of quarterback ever, or at least up there. He had a really, really good one. So you never know. I mean, like it could absolutely happen, but until I see anything, I just can't say that we compete or stack up against anyone else in this division, because we don't even necessarily have like something that I would say is our ace, right? We don't have like the insane defense anymore. We have a good defense. We have PS2, yes, but we don't have like the no-fly zone or
it gets the job done.
Recurrent stuff. I mean, it gets the job done. I mean, it's not bad, but like we don't have that. Like, this is arguably the best defense in the league. We don't have that. Like, we have one of the best wide receivers in the league, or the best running back in the league. Like, we don't have that ace that is like going to give us that boost, if you will. So it's really, to me, it's all on Bo.
I definitely respect the status quo idea. I think
it's not even status quo. It's like I don't want to stick with the status quo at all. But I just think based on what we know now,
and that's why I think we say status quo, because status quo is based off of right now. I'm probably positive we're going to end up having this conversation either mid-training camp or maybe, what is it, after preseason, possibly, like when we're kind of like doing our actual predictions, right? When we do our like season predictions, when we go through all the divisions and give our awards and stuff like that, I'm sure we'll have a nice barometer at that point. But I think in terms of, for me, the status quo is I have them above the Raiders. The question for me is, how are they going to be able to close the gap, and have they closed the gap with the Chargers? I can't really say that they're going to be closing the gap with the Chiefs per se, but if Bo Nix is able to hit, like if Bo Nix is able to hit and be, it's a lot to ask for, and you can never certainly expect it, because it's an anomaly. But if he comes out and he beats and he plays like he plays like CJ Stroud, then there's at least you possibly have either surpassed the Chargers and have closed the gap with the Chiefs at that point. And that's an anomaly. You can't really expect that. But I just think that as far as, the Broncos and currently with where they are, I have them above the Raiders, just given the head coaching. And
I mean, head coaching, I would say that would be, in my opinion, that would be our ace. If we had an ace, I would say it's Sean Payton. So yeah, I mean, I get that. I just feel like it's so dependent still on the quarterback that I'm still going to say we're below the Raiders, but like, it's not going to take a lot for me to put us above the Raiders.
Right. And the reason why, of course, I'm going off of that is also because of based on the last season. And even if it is the same, and even if it's the same, like, honestly, I wouldn't even be surprised. I'll just say it this way. I've said before, 7-10 is the floor for this team, right? And 10 wins is their ceiling, right? I've said before that, right? like even after Bo Nix and probably even just a little bit before Bo, right? Before the Bo draft pick. Even if they have the same record, which is 8-9 or 9-8, I'm not going to be disappointed in that. And frankly, the idea of, with the idea of actually that as your first season with Bo Nix, and you're going, say, 9-8, I do not hate that season at all. Like, you basically have a rookie come in and orchestrate under Sean Payton a winning record season at 9-8. That's about all you can ask for, really, at that point. And so, if they're able to be 8-9 or even 9-8, they will more than likely be securing that number 3 spot in the division. The question for me, it's going to end up. The Chargers are just so. Look, I think it's very easy. I think it's very easy to say the Broncos are a team to really be intrigued by. I think it's really easy to say that. But I think, of course, the other team, when you look into that division, that's going to be very interesting is the Chargers. Jim Harbaugh has won wherever he is, wherever he has been. And what is it going to be like with him and Herbert?
Yes.
But
he hasn't played against this division.
No, and
I'm trying to hype myself up here a little bit.
No, but it's just like I keep going to that in my brain. And it's just like he's won wherever he's been, and he's been a part of really tough divisions before. And so or a division, right? So I mean, like he was a part of the NFC West. So and he's won a lot of games there. So it's not like he's going into a unfamiliar, like an unfamiliar situation. So I'm trying not to hype up the Chargers because I don't want to hype up the Chargers. But I think that's what makes the hiring for Harbaugh and the pairing with him and Herbert such a fascinating one, because Herbert finally has a head coach that is really going to get the most out of him. And the question is just, what is it going to be like, long term for them? Because that they're probably going to end up building the trenches, which is something that the Chargers have desperately needed to do for the last 3 or 4 years, is they've really needed to build the trenches on that. So you're finally going to get that. It'll probably get to the point where the wide receiving core will at some point need to get rebuilt and retooled again within that wide receiving core, especially with Keenan Allen gone. That's going to be a big loss. Mike Williams is gone. I
feel like they're going to have to kind of figure out that game plan and that offense. And I think it's going to be very run heavy. And I'm going to be interested to see like what happens with Justin Herbert and like how they mix him in, or like, I'm not even and I feel weird saying that, because how are they going to mix Justin Herbert and their quarterback who leads the entire offense? But I mean, I kind of mean it, to be honest, because we know that Jim Harbaugh is very run heavy. He's talked about that already. He's talked about how much he's very much a pound the rock, I want a good offensive line kind of guy. And obviously Justin Herbert is still the quarterback. Obviously Justin Herbert is still an amazing quarterback, an elite quarterback. But I don't think they're going to have him throw 30 times a game.
Which is going to be so beneficial.
And if he did, who's he throwing to?
Right. So it's good.
So that's why, like, I'm still putting the Chargers second, but that's why I'm still like, they're still the Chargers. They can still charger it, and they're going to find a way to charger it. And this is just going to be the 47th way that they found to do that.
Yeah.
So I'm curious to see what happens there. And then like the whole thing with Austin Eckler, which was interesting. I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see what happens. And then didn't Corey Linsley retire, didn't he?
Yes.
Yeah. Ladd McConkey is going to be coming in and, in my opinion, have some big shoes to fill, because like Quentin Johnston isn't really panned out at all.
No.
First round pick from year before that.
I mean, what? He's the projected number 2.
And he's the projected. Oh, Ladd McConkey.
Oh, I was saying Quentin Johnston. He's probably projected to be maybe their number 2 wide receiver, but who knows if it's going to.
I don't even know who their number 1 wide receiver is. DJ Chark.
Yeah. It could be
Maybe
It could be Ladd McConkey by the end of the year.
it could be Quentin Johnston starting out as the wide receiver one. Which, if that's the case, like
R.I.P.
Down bad. So that's going to be interesting. Brendan Rice is going to be interesting. Josh Palmer still there is like solid, but like
maybe that's the wide receiver one is Josh Palmer.
I could be. It's just it's just very weird. It's very weird. I don't know who they're going to throw to. Then they have like 5 tight ends that are like interesting. Like they have Will Dissly, they have Hayden Hurst. I don't know. It's going to be weird to see what they do with that offense. And they obviously have J.K. Dobbins, who they signed. They have Gus Edwards, who they signed, kind of following the
running back by committee.
Following
Baltimore, if you will.
Who's the guy? Greg Roman. Couldn't think of his name. Mm-hmm. Following Roman. And then they still have like Spiller, Kamani Vidal, they drafted this year, who's kind of intriguing, at least to me personally. So I don't know. It's going to be interesting. I mean, I feel like that defense is also still pretty good. I mean, they still have Joey Bosa. They still have, did they bring in Bud Dupree this offseason?
I think that sounds right. And of course,
they still have Khalil Mack, who I don't really know how I feel about him because he's kind of been like,
they restructured his deal too.
Yeah. He kind of just like stopped being good, but then I don't know. It was weird. Unless he plays us, then he looks amazing for some reason. So, I mean, the defense is still going to be kind of solid, but I don't know what's going to happen with that team. I'm still keeping them at second, but again, they could charger, and I'm not saying it's totally out of the realm of possibility that we've turned into the second best team in this division. I think that's probably unlikely, if I'm being honest, but I see the path. I don't see the path for us upsetting the Chiefs, and to be honest, I don't know if I ever will, as long as Patrick Mahomes exists. Unfortunately,
I 1,000% agree with you because you can't rule anything out, especially given the way that the Broncos are going to be looking at it. Because if you look just solely at the Broncos roster, it's like as much as we are still a bit unsure about Courtland Sutton being in air quotes, a wide receiver one, or even, the other wide receivers in the building, right? Like Troy Franklin, Marvin Mims, can they assert themselves as wide receiver one? So I mean, like, I just think that, like, even given all of that, the wide receiver room for the Broncos is night and day better than what the Chargers have. The head coach between Sean Payton and Jim Harbaugh is about even, and you can kind of nitpick which one at that point maybe you want to roll with between Harbaugh and Payton as far as like who you want to roll with at that point, because you go forward, and I mean the defense, maybe you want to give it to the Chargers, right? I could actually see the Chargers maybe have the better defense, and I'd probably give it to the Chargers there.
Mm-hmm. Between the Chargers and us.
Yeah, between the Chargers and us.
Yeah, I would agree with that, to be honest with you.
And then you end up and you look at the offensive line. Our offensive line might actually be a little bit better, just a bit, maybe than Los Angeles. The question just
Rashawn Slater to me is the tipping point because he's just so damn good.
Well, the question, but I was just gonna say the question that kind of brings it down is something you and I have had a conversation about, and that is going to be circulating around the replacement of Lloyd Cushenberry. If they can get the center position situated and they actually have a stable piece there for their 4 to 5 years, if you will, that might actually tip it above where it needs to be for that offensive line for the Broncos. But I think right now the offensive line maybe for the Broncos might actually be a bit better, but even that could be a bit even. The running backs might be even. I don't know. The fact they're doing running back by committee with the Chargers would almost indicate that it feels even. But I think it's easy for us to say that the Broncos running back room might be better than the Chargers given the age, possible, how they could utilize, them. But I think the way that the Chargers will utilize them in terms of their workload and by committee might end up being the same way we use them, right? And possibly the same way we use our running backs, which is going to significantly help Javonte Williams. It's going to significantly help Samaje Perine always be fresh, right? So, I mean, but I think where it really is going to probably separate themselves is going to end up being, that whether if Bo Nix can be truly that guy, or maybe not that, you know what I mean? Like, not that, like, when I'm saying that guy, I'm not saying like the CJ Stroud that guy, but like that
Right.
really like.
Well, let me kind of phrase what I think you're saying in my, like, what I was going to say anyway as well. Like, to me, I don't even care if we finish fourth. This is why I don't mind putting us fourth. It doesn't matter to me. I don't care if we win 3 games. Do I think we will win 3 games? No. But I don't care if we win 3 games. I don't care if we win 2 games. If Bo Nix looks like a guy, he doesn't have to look elite. He doesn't look like CJ Stroud. He doesn't have to have an amazing rookie season. But he has just, if he looks like, oh, there's something here, I'm good. That's all I care about.
Yeah.
That's all I want. I don't care if we win no games. Seriously. It's not going to happen. It's going to happen one time. Looking at you, Lions. But, I mean, I wouldn't care if Bo Nix looks, I mean, like, how likely is it possible that those two things happen at the same time? Like, if Bo Nix does look like a guy, I mean, he's going to probably win games. But I'm okay with not, I don't even care if we have another losing season. I'm used to it. Hurt me again. But just have a quarterback that looks like a quarterback that you can maybe have some hope in, and I'm good.
Yeah, but I think what really kind of separates it for right now is what I was going to go with is the wide receiver room. And I think that then at that point, it's what you're going to get out of Bo Nix. If Bo Nix is going to end up, if Bo Nix is going to end up being that type of guy and that type of player that's going to be, the quarterback that I'm sure Sean Payton envisioned when he drafted him. Because as I've said before, just because he may have been QB6 on the board draft night doesn't mean, that he was Sean Payton's QB6 on draft night, which has already been debunked numerous times. So I don't have to, go down that in just immense rabbit hole again. I don't need to do that again. But like, if he can be able to just produce really solid numbers and just manage the offense, which is exactly what you should expect for out of the quarterback position, I really do think that the Broncos are going to have a chance. Because, like,
what were the numbers you said? Sorry,
just manageable. Like,
just manageable. I thought you said specific stuff.
No, because I think that the Russell Wilson numbers that were able to be pulled up, I mean, like, that's the thing is, like, the numbers Russ was able to put up, I feel like are replicable, right? Are replicable for what could happen for a really manageable offense. If you're able to put forth roughly 25 plus touchdowns, 27, maybe even 30 touchdowns, and then, and if you're a rookie, given what the accuracy has been labeled for Bo Nix, if you're able to limit the turnovers, which is a big thing. It's been a big thing for the Broncos. And of course, in the past, if you're able to limit the turnovers, then you're going to be talking about, again, replicable, quarterback play. And then at that point, you're talking about possibly another 8 to 9 or 9 to 8 season. And if you're lucky to squeeze in a 10 win there, you might actually find yourself in that, playoff territory where you're in the playoffs at that point. So I just think that
I really want to know how many rookie quarterbacks go to the playoffs as rookies. I don't know if I'll find this quickly.
Well, I mean, think about it. And then it's it goes to the certain conversations we've had earlier, which is there's a legitimate argument to be made that Bo Nix is definitely been the most pro-ready quarterback of this class, probably. But also, there may not have been a quarterback that is actually going to maybe a more favorable situation to play right away and get the results right away. And the reason why I say that is because you can make the case for Caleb Williams, but who knows in terms of the environment, giving everything to history and everything that we've seen with Caleb Williams and history that we've seen with how they've been able to unfortunately ruin Justin Fields, or at least what a term's like, right? The Bears ruined Justin Fields so badly that he is returning kickoffs in Madden.
I saw that.
So we really have to kind of peel back a little bit some of the maybe the true optimism, if you will, for Chicago, in the sense of like you just got to wait and see with Chicago. But I can understand a lot of that optimism with Chicago, given the weapons now that they have around him. Funny enough, Keenan Allen is there, DJ Moore is there, Roma Dunze is there. They do have some very nice weapons. Cole Kmet is the tight end. Defense is possibly sneaky good. But who knows? I mean, like, I think that, kind of wait and see, given just the environment of everything that we've seen in the past there. But, you look at Michael Penix Jr., right? Who knows if he's going to end up being good, but we won't know for 4 years. We won't know for 4 years or 3.5 years. We won't know for 3.5 years whether or not there was truly a great pick or not. Drake May, he's probably not going to start right away. Jaden Daniels, is he gonna be the Lamar Jackson type of this class, where he's got the Lamar Jackson explosiveness and maybe the same type of passing ability, maybe a bit more passing ability than, say, Lamar Jackson? If he's going to be that kind of guy, you're talking higher ceiling, and obviously, okay, that's really good results for Washington, right? But then you go to the Minnesota Vikings, and everything that you're reading there, JJ McCarthy's not going to be starting year one. So he might play at some point, maybe year one, but it's not going to be, year one. I would venture to guess that it's possibly he's going to be starting in year two, because if Sam Darnold goes out and balls out, you're talking about him either being the starter for the Minnesota Vikings in 2025, but more than likely going to be a starter somewhere else in 2025, and JJ McCarthy going to be, your starter in 2025. So Bo Nix, ideally, Brandon, is in a really good situation for himself to be the guy to play now and the guy to be playing now for the long term and be that guy. So I wouldn't be surprised if Bo Nix is truly that type of player that could be the one in the playoffs, really, when you kind of look at it. Although, I don't know, it really just boils down to the whole Caleb Williams and Jaden Daniels and Nick's situation between those three.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like Caleb Williams is obviously the starter. Like, that's probably the most obvious situation. I mean, I guess, is it possible that he's not? But come on. I'm curious here. Why do you think JJ McCarthy might not start?
Everything you're hearing from Minnesota is that Sam Darnold.
Who even is? Oh yeah, Sam Darnold. I forgot. Yeah, I was gonna say I don't even remember who their other quarterback is. Do you think Drake May starts right away?
Mm-mm.
No, I don't either.
Well, and you're not getting really good reviews. You're not getting really good reviews from the Patriots side of things.
I haven't heard anything. I've really not paid attention, to be honest.
So basically,
is it bad?
Do you know the stuff that we've been hearing in the Drew Lock era, where from Fangio, which was, we basically need to turn him into he's a pitcher, we need to turn him into a quarterback kind of comment?
Yeah.
You remember that?
Yeah, I do.
It's somewhat of
throw over the football.
It's somewhat what you're hearing from Drake May, and in the sense that we
interesting.
It's just in the sense of we don't know if he's ready just yet, but we're hoping he can be ready, versus Sean Payton raving about Bo Nix, right? So comparatively, it's not great in terms of an early return with Drake May from Gerard Mayo. Big Mike, if he's listening, would probably know more, given the fact that he lives on the East Coast down there. So yeah, it's not been great. I mean, yeah, it's not been great.
Yeah. who do you, like? I already know that I said kind of that I feel like, at least in my opinion, that I don't think Aiden O'Connell will be starting for the Raiders. But what do you?
I was gonna say if Aiden O'Connell on the Vikings, JJ McCarthy may not actually start.
I was gonna say Vegas Raiders, but I was like, I just don't care. I'm just gonna call them the Raiders.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, what do you think? Do you think it's gonna be O'Connell? Do you think it's gonna end up being Gardner Minshew? I mean, I personally think it's gonna be Minshew, but
I think it's gonna be Minshew.
Yeah.
But you're kind of hearing some misleading stuff right now from the Raiders people. It seems like O'Connell's going to start, Minshew's going to start. You're kind of hearing a lot of differing things, for the Raiders. I do think, though, there is it's not it's laughable from a other team's perspective, or a fan of another team's perspective, but there's certainly a window where the Raiders view O'Connell as their long-term option going forward. They shouldn't, but there's at least a window in the sense that they could view O'Connell as their long-term option. And I the reason why I say that is because I like the idea of Minshew there playing for at least those couple of years and finally getting that chance and earning that chance to be a starter, because let's be completely honest, he's really never but he's never really been given that opportunity where, he's really been a starter for a full season and really, or even multiple seasons where he's been able to be that starter. And I think with the Raiders, he actually will have that chance to be that, for the Raiders. And I think given the fact that O'Connell was, a mid-round draft pick, and given the fact that he's a pure pocket passer, to a certain degree, like a Gardner Minshew, I do like the way that it's been constructed in that quarterback room, but you can't really rely on the fact that a mid-round draft pick, with it being O'Connell to be truly your guy, because those are hard to predict situations. So, I mean, if the Raiders have a top draft pick, right, again, like let's just say they have a top 10 draft pick next year, are we really thinking they're going to pass at a quarterback at that point?
I mean, you don't even know, because like, who knows what the quarterbacks are going to be like next year.
Right. So, and especially if, Minshew is the one that's going to be starting for a full-on year, that means Aiden O'Connell's not going to be playing. So then at that point, it's just going to be, what has been the rumblings in the front office and, and the coaching staff about how they feel truly about O'Connell. Because if they really, really like O'Connell, then they'll pass. Then they'll pass on a quarterback, or they'll take a quarterback, late or something, and and they'll take a quarterback, in like the second, third, or fourth round or something, because we know that the early returns, of course, with the 2025 class, quarterback is, kind of like, middle of the road and maybe not so great.
Yeah, I mean, you never know. Like, it's always going to be. I feel like you can't. We can't possibly say a single thing about next year's quarterback class in June of 2024, because.
Oh, of course. I'm saying I'm not saying that for opinion, but what we've been hearing.
Oh yeah, it's just like you never know. Like, you can't ever predict it, because it's always going to be. Like, someone will always come out of the woodwork. Someone that seems like they are going to be the number one person will fall. That'll change 8 times. I remember when Joe Burrow was coming out of LSU, he kind of just like
came out of nowhere
a little bit and just like rocketed straight to the top, and then he was the guy. People knew about him, but
Joe Flacco was the same way. Daniel Jones was the same way. Blake Bortles, was the same way. It really didn't last long term for Blake Bortles, but he blasted up draft boards. Baker Mayfield, to a certain extent, blasted up, draft boards. There was a point where the Broncos and Bronco fans really wanted him with that 5th overall pick, right? And then, he ends up shooting all the way up to 1, and supplanting Sam Darnold.
Yeah.
So then I feel like this is going to be a short conversation, but if there was ever something, a scenario where the Broncos finally get a chance to be close to the Chiefs again in the standings, they have to do what? Here, cue the Jeopardy music.
So I'm going to make this joke that I saw that was made at the US Open at Pinehurst.
Mm-hmm.
And it just happens to work in this situation. And the joke and the question that was basically asked was, what does Rory McIlroy need to shoot to beat Bryson DeChambeau?
Yeah.
And the answer was Bryson DeChambeau. He needs to shoot Bryson DeChambeau. And that's the same answer. Patrick Mahomes. We had to shoot Patrick Mahomes.
Basically,
I can't even begin to answer that question. But if I'm throwing darts at a board because it's June, we need something to talk about, and I'm bored and I want football, you got to get on all cylinders. Bo Nix has to be a franchise quarterback. I'm not saying it's to be top 5, but it's to be a franchise quarterback. He has to probably be top 10. That's the lowest I'll go.
Yeah.
You need a great defense. Like, you need probably a top 5 defense. You need weapons. You need a coach that knows how to make decisions in the moment and do what needs to be done. And that still doesn't guarantee that you're going to beat him, because he can just do what Patrick Mahomes does. That just makes you competitive.
Yeah. I'm not going to disagree with it, because
that's like getting a royal flush.
Yeah. I think that the thing I will say the good thing that is heading in the Broncos direction with that is the sense that Mahomes is getting older. I mean, older.
Bro, he's still younger than me, I think.
Older, but in the sense he's like 28. He's not retiring anytime soon, but he's
younger than me. Love it.
He's getting older. But they were able to at least win. They were at least able to win that game against the Chiefs.
Yeah, we beat them. I mean, that's why I'm like, they're not bulletproof.
Yeah, they're definitely bulletproof.
You gotta be firing on all cylinders.
They have to be able to replicate what they did in Empower, where they beat them 24-9. Yeah, it may have been a flu game for Patrick Mahomes, but they absolutely have to duplicate what they did, which was just suffocate the daylights out of Mahomes that entire game. Get to him constantly, create a lot of that pressure, get those sacks, just get in his face all game. And if you really just look at it from the absolute defensive perspective, they gotta just be so suffocating that they can't even do anything.
Mm-hmm.
And if they're able to do that, and then of course when the offense actually has the ball, something that they've been inept and just been just impervious to, and that's been scoring touchdowns when a defense even has turnovers, is the moment things happen where if you do have a turnover, or if you're able to create a situation for yourself where you're in the red zone, convert those to points. Like, convert those opportunities to points. And that has been not just a Kansas City Chiefs issue when they've been playing them, but it's also basically, a situation where it's the entire season. Like no matter who you're playing, it's been a 8-year problem for the Broncos is that when they've been in the red zone, they can't really capitalize. They were much better this last year, but with Bo Nix and everything, like, can they be able to capitalize regularly in the red zone and put teams away? And I think that's one of the things I'm excited about with giving the young team. Kind of a sidebar point to all of that is I'm curious to see how this young team, soon to be young team, because I think their average age is about 26 and a half, 27. So they're definitely getting younger. But I'm definitely curious to see how they can be able to close games. If they have a lead, right, if they're in a very competitive game, can they be able to close a game out, right? And can they finally be able to get the score that they need to, right? I hate to bring it up, but it's just something that is always ingrained in your head. But when they were playing the Houston Texans, you can't be chucking balls up to Lucas Kroll on a 4th and goal, knowing the fact that he's double covered and triple covered. You got to be able to make the right read in critical situations, and so they need to be able to convert on really key situations for them to win a lot of games.
Yeah. No, definitely.
So, and of course, as you said, they have to be near perfect, or if not perfect for them to really beat the Kansas City Chiefs.
And it's not even that they have to be perfect, but you got to have all the pieces. You can't be missing a piece. If you're perfect, then yeah, you're going to have a much higher likelihood. But if you have the quarterback, you have the coach, you have the talent on the team, you have the defense you need, you have a shot. It's probably not as much of a shot as it would be if you were completely perfect, but you at least know the pieces, and we don't know if you have all the pieces yet.
And an underlying thing that helped with them beating, the Chargers and then of course, them beating the Kansas City Chiefs this last year was they were relatively healthy. Like they were relatively healthy. And knock on wood, hopefully it stays the same. Thank you, Bo Lowry, for a great year last year, but hopefully it stays the same. Talk about unsung MVP of that entire season, Bo Lowry, the way that he kept that team healthy. But yeah, if they could be able to stay healthy and do what they need to, I think it'll be great. By the way, some breaking draft news. The Phoenix Suns, the Phoenix Suns are trading the 22nd pick to Denver, where they will be taking Deron Holmes.
Okay. I saw him pretty heavily connected to us, I believe, actually. Dang. I don't know anything about him. I've seen his name multiple times.
This just getting the chance to read Nuggets Twitter a lot. It sounds like that has been their guy.
Yeah, a Colorado product
twice
went in 2 times in the top 20.
Look at that celebration! We get celebration.
Yeah, how do you do that?
I have no idea. I've randomly been figured. Look. See, like I could even do thumbs up and do fireworks. Like,
it's not working.
Or like the thumbs up with the fireworks, right? Yeah, it's crazy. I don't know how it's going on, but
I know why.
Looks like hell froze over.
We're finally making it entertaining. That's right. There you go.
Why? What? Is it because I had the background?
Maybe.
Hold on.
Well, we're gonna.
Yeah, you see the bed.
Yeah, see the bed.
Fine.
Whatever. I win.
Whatever.
Yeah. Yeah. So we'll go. Yeah,
I win.
Now, if you're gonna, okay. First off, if you're gonna do it, at least.
Yeah, but that's temporary. This is permanent.
Well, but see, if there was anything that would tell you of how it felt to be a Bronco fan the last 8 years, it's that video right there.
That's true. That's true.
That's also fitting, given the fact that we're literally talking about how the Broncos stack up against the rest of the AFC West. Can we just appreciate the fact, by the way, that going back to this Denver Nuggets thing, the Phoenix Suns actually helping the Denver Nuggets on this trade?
Suns and 4 guys devastated.
Right. That's just crazy that it was actually the. Oh man, that's crazy. Yeah. So for anybody that doesn't know, Bobby was there filming. He filmed that, and then one of our other friends was the one who threw that. Yeah, it was a fun time. It was an absolutely fun time. And as Boggins, he kind of asked for it, yesterday. He said, "Have anybody seen the video of Cam getting hit?" And was like, "Okay, I guess it's time to recircle a little bit." So,
Deron Holmes is 6'10", 236. Damn.
He has been linked to the Nuggets.
Yeah, I've seen him mentioned a lot.
Yeah, so they've really wanted.
Did you see what the Wendy's, like official Wendy's Twitter account said? Whoever becomes a Nugget tonight will get free saucy nuggets for a year.
Congratulations, Deron Holmes.
Yeah.
Yep. But yeah, so it'll be interesting to monitor with this whole AFC West and everything and how it's next up. We'll have the conversation again with where they will be, and we'll do our breakdowns over the course of training camp, and we'll probably get to the point here where we will do our positional breakdowns, right? As we're kind of creeping ever so closer to training camp, which, oh, by the way, if you guys are wanting tickets to go to training camp, tomorrow is the day. They're opening the window. I want to say it's about 10 a.m. Mountain Time to get tickets to go to training camp. So, Brandon, we will have to kind of coordinate possibly, going to, training camp. We'll have to try our hardest if we can to go to training camp. Those first couple days, I should say, like back together weekend, and then of course, maybe even that Friday, or possibly even that joint practice day. I feel like the joint practice day would be a really fun one to go to. Would be those joint practices. But for anybody that is watching and listening to this stream, make sure you get those tickets secured. 10 a.m. tomorrow. It's gonna be a lot of fun. Getting the chance to see truly Sean Payton's team in action this year. Anything that you're actually like really looking forward to, Brandon, this year, like just in terms of training camp, or what position battle you are most looking forward to?
I'm interested to see what happens at center, even though I'm pretty sure like we kind of already know that it's probably going to be Forsyth. But I'm interested to see kind of how that works out. And I really want to know who sort of develops who out of the veteran wide receivers develops chemistry with Bo Nix. I outside of obviously people have already played with him in Oregon. Those are kind of my top two.
Yeah. Running back is one. Corner is another position group that I'm certainly looking at. I really like that you mentioned center because I really don't think a lot of people have been mentioning that. Because I think a lot of people have been mentioning, the running back position, the cornerback position, maybe even linebacker, who's going to be playing alongside. So I like the fact that you mentioned center because I think that, as we said on the top, the center position is one where I think you'll really start to see a much more tight knit unit where you'll finally get a chance to see the offensive line truly grow again. When they lost Lloyd Cushenberry, right? You lost an anchor. That's the whole point of when you see a center, when they call the guy an anchor of the offensive line. You can argue Quinn Miners being an anchor of the offensive line. But I think that for this, if Forsyth can be that center for us, or Luke Wattenberg, or Mustafar, Mustafar,
Thank you.
Use the Star Wars term. But if he can be the starter at center, I think it will really help. But I think, as I said, things are kind of trending in that direction where it's going to end up being Alex Forsyth. You and I have been kind of on that since day one. But if you're able to really get that stability there at that center position, I think it's going to be really helpful for them. Just to really kind of create that stability for that offensive line, which they badly need ever since Cushenberry left.
Yeah, no, definitely.
What is the one? Okay, here's one. You obviously mentioned center, because I do think that's one that's not been talked about a lot. But who, in terms of a positional group, is not talked about enough? That's a position battle.
I haven't really been as active, so this may have been talked about, and I just didn't see it. But I'm kind of interested to see as well what happens at tight end, because I mean, not that it's not really a position battle, but I don't know. I feel like every time it's kind of just like, oh, Greg Dulcich is going to finally like step up and be the dude. And then just every year it just doesn't really happen. And you don't really know what his health is like. And it's just like, is that going to be the case again? Or is there going to be someone that pushes him out of that shoe-in spot?
Mm-hmm.
I don't even know if there is anyone that's even capable of doing that. I mean, Adam Troutman is going to kind of be the...
As crazy it is, it might
actually
be, it might be Lucas Kroll.
Lucas Kroll, maybe. I feel like we need more talent in that room, to be honest. But yeah, I'm going to go with that.
And, when you actually look at it,
that and safety. Safety is interesting to me.
Why do you say safety?
Because obviously we need to fill the Justin Simmons void, and there's just, to me, there's kind of a lot of, I don't know if I'd say question marks. I mean, they seem to like PJ Locke. Dale Skinner, I don't even know because he barely played. Caden Stearns, is he healthy? I don't know. Delaren Turner-Yell. I don't know.
He might actually end up being
not on the roster. Yeah. I don't know. Feels a little weird.
He'll probably be an injury settlement too, given the fact that he tore his ACL at the end of last year. He also could be a long-term, IR type of player too.
Yeah.
So, I mean, he'll still be on the roster, but just be on IR. So in essence, you're not necessarily saying positional battle for, in particular, the safety position. You're just talking about
Bring it back. Bring it back right
yes,
now.
please.
Right now.
Please bring him back. I will put his New Jersey.
I'll buy his New Jersey immediately. Bring it back.
I will put his New Jersey right next to this one over here on my wall. I will give everything to have him back. It's not going to happen, unfortunately. But yeah, I will give everything to have Simmons. Which, by the way, that thank you, Bronco and VA, for mentioning that. Did you see that they've been selling? Okay. Von Miller had his Von's Vision. Suji Wharton was there, and even though he's a Buffalo Bill still, when they did Von's Vision here in Colorado, they actually had jerseys of him made in the New Jersey. You'd have to go a bit back, Brandon, for Suji Wharton. But apparently, like they had jerseys made of Von Miller in the New Jersey that they advertised, and then obviously on the Fanatic store or on the actual team store, they have John Elway jerseys in the New Jersey.
That. Yeah, and the new John Elways.
You know, and I think they
I'm not gonna buy one, but it's kind of cool.
You sure? I think
I'm not gonna lie. The more I look at it, the more I like the New Jerseys. Like it took me a little bit.
But that's not the point. It's just weird to see John Elway, like a John Elway jersey in the newer jersey. Like, I don't know. It's because I think they're doing the same thing with Peyton Manning as well. Like, if it was me, I would, it's just weird. If I was, maybe it's just because I've been into Mitchell and Ness the last couple of years, but it's just like I would much rather see some of those classic players, you know, be, you know, their jersey number like in, you know, some of those classic uniforms like the 70s, and you know, and then of course John Elway in the classic, you know, Denver Broncos Denver D logo, and you know, jerseys and and uniforms, and of course, you know, Peyton and you know, the jerseys that they had previously before this one, you know, so having Manning in that one is fine. But it's just, I don't know. It's just.
Let me ask you this question, though. Would you buy a throwback John Elway jersey?
Oh, of course.
Because that'd be sick. I would get that.
Oh, of course.
That would be the one.
But my thing is, I've already convinced myself I'm going to hold off and not get a Bo Nix jersey just yet.
Oh, I'm not going to jinx it, because I still have "You Shall Not Be Named's" jersey sitting in my closet that I will probably never wear again.
Yeah, and
because I bought it immediately, like an idiot.
Yeah, and I will say, as crazy as it sounds, and crazy as it sounds in the sense that I was probably Paxton Lynch's number one fan.
Not him.
Well, I was going to say, but in 2016, you would think that I had his jersey, and I really did not. I did not have a Paxton Lynch jersey, but being burned with Drew Lock, and of course, you know, with Russell Wilson, those cursed number 3 uniforms, I am going to hold off on not getting anything Bo Nix related, at least for a couple of years. But throwback jersey, I'm trying to decide, Brandon. I need your help on this. So, I mean, like, I'll need your help on this, because I'm not going to go John Elway. But I want to go a classic Broncos player. So I want to run a few names by you. Floyd Little.
Okay.
Floyd Little in that classic Denver D logo. Carl Mecklenburg. Or Terrell Davis.
It depends. What kind of vibe are you trying to give off here?
I don't know. It's way easier to get a jersey of a classic player than it would be of something that's, you know, like Bronco and VA says, I'm ready to get burned again. Like I would rather just invest in something that was already a very known. And of course, Randy Gradishar possibly.
Oh, okay. For some reason, my gut's telling me to get the Mecklenburg. It's too clean.
77.
77, yeah.
Man,
Floyd Little would be cool. I would like Floyd Little. Honestly, all of them would be good.
Yeah. Are you Bronco and V? Are you talking the Broncos throwbacks that are going to be on the site, which is apparently taking like 15,000 months for them to finally announce on the, on the team store? I signed up for like emails, and it's been taking like decades already for them to actually put it up on the team store. Are you talking about the Bronco throwbacks? I know they've made Bronco throwbacks before, in terms of Mitchell and S. But I think the only ones that I've seen for Mitchell and S are Elway. That's the only ones that I've seen. But Mitchell and S is super clean, man. If you guys have not invested in Mitchell and S clothing, it's some of the best work that's out there. I don't think it's through. I don't think it would be through Mitchell and Ness, not at least for the jerseys. Which, by the way, to Brandon's point, the jerseys overall, I really like them. I don't know if anybody has had the chance to see Troy Franklin's combination that they put out on Twitter the other day, but they finally dropped the orange uniform with the navy blue pants and the
Who did that? Who said that?
I'll just go and I'll text it to you because I have the picture of it on my phone. But it is a super, super clean look that I didn't actually expect, for them. But I really like the orange and blue bottoms. Like it is super clean.
Yeah, those are cool.
Yeah. By the way, too, if you guys are wanting to get new uniforms, I ended up getting a custom uniform jersey, but I will admittedly tell you, as much as I do like the custom uniform, the Vapor Fuse uniform that I got for Pat Surtain is probably the way to go. Not
which one?
The Vapor Fuse, the Nike Vapor Fuse uniform. It is a bit more expensive, but it is probably the way to go.
Ooh, yeah, that's nice.
Oh, no, you Broncos and VA, you are totally fine. I think we were getting ready to ramp up the show anyway, so it was a nice
we're just spitballing at this point. We're just shooting the shit.
We're vibing.
Yeah, that'd be a good deal actually. Damn, that'd be cool.
Well,
if he comes back, I'm getting it. If he comes back, we sign him again, I'm getting it.
Well, did you see that they had Bo Nix for like, was it $90?
I did, but I'm not buying one yet.
For just like, it was just the white ones that I saw though.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Are you going to get a throwback? Is that why you were?
Maybe. I'm thinking about it. I'm thinking about it.
Are you going to maybe do the route that I was talking about? Like, maybe not get burned, but get some classic player.
Well, I'm interested to see if Bo Nix looks legit. I do want his jersey in the new jersey because that'd be sick. But it's a big if.
But which one?
I haven't gotten that far.
I will definitely tell you that I will definitely tell you that the navy blue uniform in the new look is probably my favorite.
Yeah.
Bobby, don't get burned, pal. I love you, man.
You're getting both?
If you're getting Bo, I would hold
Drinks
off.
on Bobby.
Yeah, I will.
Tea times on Bobby.
There we tea times on Bobby. There we go. Yeah, tea times on Bobby. Yeah, this is one of those Instagram reels that pops up and says, who owes you a tea time, and with this letter, and it would be the letter B. Yeah,
as long as it's not me.
Yeah, exactly. Speaking of games, do you actually plan on going to? I see Broncos and VA talking about flying to some games this year. Are you actually going to be going to a game?
Maybe we'll see. I want to figure out like what the schedule. Like, I want to look at the schedule and figure out where I'm going to be.
Well, you're a bit late on that because they did release a schedule already.
No, I know. I haven't like looked through it with the intention of like, oh, which game would I want to go to?
Yeah.
Like, that's what I meant. I've seen the schedule, bro. We talked about the release video. But no, I haven't like analyzed it with the intent of like, okay, which one of these games am I going to?
Yeah.
Because like, I also want to, again, I don't want to do it. I want to see what Bo Nix looks like first. Because I am not dropping money for a jersey or a game, to be honest, to watch him suck as a rookie.
Like I said, I'm waiting.
I mean, like, I'll go to a Rockies game because they're horrible and I don't care because it's cheap and it's a vibe.
It's a vibe. It is 1,000% a vibe at this point. When you go to
like, I don't even care if they suck. You don't even watch the game. But if I'm going to a Broncos game, I'm watching the game and I'd rather enjoy it than hate myself.
Right.
So,
I think I'm going to 5. Of
course you are.
One of them is the Green Bay preseason game, which is going to be a lot of fun. Then we're going to go
to one of the Vikings preseason games like 6 years ago. It was kind of fun, actually.
I think it's going to be a lot of fun this particular year, given the fact that the draft picks that are rolling in, obviously the new quarterback. And I think we're going to go to we're going to at least try and go to the joint practices, for Green Bay. So it'd be kind of nice to go to that before the preseason. But it's going to be a lot of fun. And thank you guys so much for hopping in with us into the chat. And it was a great sidetrack, Bronco and VA. It was great. We had a fun conversation. I'm sure that people will be getting their Bo Nix jerseys, and we'll probably be getting some other jerseys here. Of course, the throwbacks, of course. Which, by the way, if you guys have not actually subscribed to the Broncos site and actually done an email in terms of when those throwback uniforms will become available, I highly recommend it. When it will actually drop, your guess is as good as mine and Brandon's, because we honestly have no idea. But speaking of swag, actually, as we're winding down the show, and since we are actually talking about swag, it is worth, of course, dropping into the chat that we have a merch store, ladies and gentlemen. We have a merch store. Make sure you go and visit the merch store for your Manely merch. Brandon has yet to get any Manely merch from this particular store.
Hey, I have the hat.
No, you do not have that. This is very different.
Okay.
No, this is the MHRT Network shop where you guys can go buy not just Manely Broncos podcast merch, but you can go buy 5280 merch, regular MHRT Network merch. You guys can go out and buy Mile High Symposium merch when it becomes available. I mean, you guys can go out and rep the brand. You guys can go out and rep the brand of MHRT, your favorite podcast. Hopefully, if we go to training camp, we can actually get a chance to see you guys repping the brand of the Manely Broncos podcast, which would be amazing. So that would be an absolute blast. So we dropped into the chat. Make sure you get your guys some swag. There are some nice swag. There's an apron there. There's a tote bag. There's a Manely Broncos cup, apparently. Us being golf fans, I'm a bit disappointed that they don't have Manely Broncos tees.
Dude, I would totally buy those.
But
or balls. Be sick.
Manely Broncos golf ball.
Yeah.
Yeah. But anyway, thank you guys so much for hopping into the chat. As we said at the top of the podcast, make sure you hit the subscribe button to the MHRT Network. Follow both Brandon and I on X, Twitter. Our handles are right here on the broadcast at Brandon Miller PO and myself at Cameron Parker PO. It was an absolute blast getting the chance to be back with you guys, get a chance to talk shop with you guys over in the chat. We certainly will be looking forward to doing this more, and we are going to probably be doing our positional breakdowns as we move closer into training camp, and we might actually start it the 1st of July. And as we kind of wind down into training camp, with training camp beginning actually on July 26th, it would be appropriate we kind of started here, I would say probably around the 1st of the month. So I'm really looking forward to doing our deep dive on that. Again, thank you guys so much for hopping in with us. We look forward to seeing you guys next week. We're trying to work through some particulars of possibly getting a guest on the show. And stay tuned for it. We may not actually be broadcasting next week on Wednesday, given the fact that it is going to be the 4th of July week next week. But we'll try and see if we could bring some fireworks of our own before the 4th of July. But anyway, thank you guys so much for hopping in with us. Stay frosty and go Broncos.
Fast lane when I pass in the street, bag of money in the passenger seat. Simcoe's been asking for me on the road from the west to the east. Way up, I might never come down, cause the coast's racking up the flame out.